Welcome back to the Alchemical Life podcast. This is your host, Abigail Crow, speaking, and I can't fucking talk today. I'm having a struggle. I'm having a rough time, so I think this is going to be the last take that I do, and this is just, it's going to be what it is. And if you're new to this podcast channel, wherever you're watching or listening to this from, I am a coach. I specialize primarily in endurance athletes now, but I have spent a lot of my coaching years training athletes of all sports, backgrounds, ages, professional or non-professional areas. I train people who are just casual Joe Schmo, hanging out, wanting to feel good, look good. And I've trained people who are currently training in the NFL. So lots of different backgrounds here, but today I am here to answer questions that you guys have asked me, and a couple of the questions are really just based on how I structure my training and nutrition on race week, and I thought that would go into a great topic for today. I do have a couple of other topics that I might delve into, talk about today, but I wanted to get into those things first, and then we'll see. I might break it up into a two-part episode, and so that you guys aren't hit with too much information at once. Too much Abigail at once is just a lot, even for me, So I've had a lot of caffeine today. I don't know if you guys can tell. I hope that you guys listen to me in 1.5 speed, honestly, because my regular tone I feel like is so slow and boring. Good Lord. But today might be a one-time speed kind of day, because I feel like I could talk a mile a minute. Okay, let me chug some water. It is raining. It is pouring. And the old man is snoring. It is not doing well outside, but we're going to carry on nonetheless. So if you hear thunder, lightning, if there's a tornado that blows through, as long as the Wi-Fi is good and hooked in, we're going to keep this show on the road, because again, I'm not taking a fourth motherfreaking take, so we're going for it. The first thing that I'm going to talk about today is, how do you structure your training on race week? Well, it's a good question. There are protocols that I go through with most of my athletes. Obviously, depending on the athlete, there are going to be individual variances. And as I continue to go through my own race weeks myself, I'm probably going to make shifts and changes in how I structure my training week. I think now it matters less than it will if I really get into endurance training in these races. Also, should have prefaced with, I have a 5K this weekend, so that's what I'm essentially, in quote, tapering for. But that's what I'm prepping for this week. So it doesn't really matter too much, because honestly, newbie gains are a thing for all lifters. They're also a thing for runners. And I think that I'm just going to do okay in this race pretty much no matter what, unless I get really ill or I just completely, absolutely like full send a leg day the day before, or just full send a running workout the day before, which is just a no-go. So I would start there with, like, how do I structure my training on race week? I'm not going to have super intense workouts anywhere close to the actual race day. So I race on Saturday morning. So Thursday and Friday are not going to look like hard days. Thursday I still will train. Friday I will not train. Friday I will just take as a rest day. I'll go on a walk. I might sauna, maybe. But I'm making sure that I am eating carbs. Oh wait, we're going to go through nutrition next. So never mind. Screw that. So I'm going to take it as a rest day, and I'll fuel up, and we'll get into the fueling process next. But earlier in that week, I actually do still like to get one intense, pretty hard stimulus earlier in the week, because I just think that intensity is one of those things that doesn't necessarily hurt you so bad, or especially if you put it earlier in the week, as like a high volume training session would. So my last long run was on Saturday. Sunday, normally I would do easy miles. I actually did not, because my knee was getting a little bit iffy, and I was just like, you know what, we're not even going to risk it for the biscuit, because I'm going into a race week this week. And then today I will hit an upper body day. I did just hit my upper body day. Sometimes I will do easy miles on Monday. Today, I'm just, again, any potential extra volume, if I'm like on the fence about it, it's just a no on race week. So if you're thinking, should I do that extra workout? Is it really necessary? Do I really need to do it? No. If it's not quality work, if it's just kind of getting time on feed and mileage, it's just a no. Just go ahead and cut it out, unless obviously you're building to another a race and you need to get the volume in. But for me, I'm not. This 5K is kind of just like all I've got on the calendar right now. So going into a race week, today I'm doing an upper body day. This is just that second rest day from my long run on Saturday, which I don't really need, but again, race week. Then I go into my Tuesday session, this is my last hard session, last hard day for the week, and that's where I will hit my track day, and I will hit all 3 miles of quality work. It's speed work for endurance training, so we're going to be getting 3 miles worth of fast, pretty hard training. I don't exactly know what the session looks like because that is not up to me. That's up to the group, the guy who runs our group that we go to, but likely because most people are going to be running in this Palace 5K, we'll do something like a cut down. So we'll do two 1200s, two 800, or yeah, two 1200s, two 800s, two 400s, and go from there. But anyways, so that will be my last hard day. I will actually send that workout to the moon. And then I will do a lower body training session later that morning, and I will change how the session looks. So I'm going to still be doing the same exercises, but I'm going to lower the overall weight because I'm not going to just be moving heavy weight. I want to be moving pretty heavy weight quickly. So it's still going to feel heavy, but it's going to have to feel heavy for being as fast as it is. And that will be my lower body training for the day so that I don't go into Wednesday, Thursday still having any kind of residual soreness, because Wednesday I will take off. I might do like some yoga or something, just move around. I definitely will walk. And then Thursday will be my last moderate day. I'll do a full body training session that day, again modified so that overall intensity is not quite as high and the volume isn't going to completely just send me into the ground. And then I will do my easy miles on Thursday because I do like to get some miles in. I like to just move my legs. I like to get some cardio in. It just makes me feel good, and mentally I think it helps me more than anything, and it doesn't physically exhaust me really because I'm running at 8:30 to 9-minute pace. So it's not anything crazy. It's 5 miles and it's not that bad for me. Again, this might change as time goes on and as I get more, if I get more into the endurance space and competing in it, but that's how it is for now. Friday, I don't do anything. Saturday, I'm going to run that 5K, send it fucking to the moon. I'm getting sub 21. I'm saying it here right now. I want to get sub 21 so bad. And then I'll get some miles in there. So I'll do a mile warm up, mile or two, depending on how I feel. And then I will do, but probably just a mile. And then I'll do a mile cool down. So I'll accumulate about 5 to 6 miles in that training day. And then Sunday, I will hit a long run. So that I can get some weekly mileage in, just because that will put me at 10. I'll put me about 25 miles for the week, 25 to 27, depending on how long I want my long run to be. But I'm thinking it'll be anywhere from 10 to 12 for that long run. And I probably will not send that long run to the moon. That I'll probably have it be sitting at like an RP 7 out of 10. In terms of intensity, I should be able to be fairly conversational, but I should be breathing pretty hard, and hopefully my legs will hold up. That's really the only thing I'm worried about, is just making sure my legs are good. So after Saturday, I'll definitely be carbing up, and that is gonna put me into my nutrition on race week, and we can talk about kind of what let me know if you guys want an episode on this, on like how I'm structuring my next training block, how I finish out a race week, what I do afterwards. It's not necessarily going to be, this is kind of like somewhat educational and also a little bit just like trial and error, my own like little video diary, because I think that I will be exiting a race week still just kind of moving and grooving through things, and it's because I don't necessarily think that I am good enough of an athlete to accumulate enough fatigue for it to really matter that much, where I need to take a couple of days after a race to chill. But anywho, just let me know if you want an episode on like how I would handle a going post race week into a new training block. Do I deload? Whatever. Anyways, going into nutrition on my race week, I really keep nutrition pretty much the same as I normally would. I think that if you're changing a bunch of not just like foods that you do eat, but also ways in which you consume, you're just setting yourself up for potential failure and GI distress whenever you're going into your runs for the week. The only thing that I make sure to do is that Thursday and that Friday, I'm making sure that I'm not underfeeding. So the earlier in the week, if you don't quite get all your calories in, or maybe you don't quite get enough carbohydrates in, you might have a poor Tuesday track session, but and that might mentally mess with you. But overall, like, it's not going to hurt you on Saturday necessarily if you're fueling properly that Thursday, Friday. So that being said, that Thursday and Friday, make sure that I'm getting enough carbohydrates in. How I schedule, how in terms of what my calories are and how I do my carbs, protein, fat breakdown, it's going to be individual for every single person and their nutrient, macronutrient needs. It's just your energetic needs are going to be different than mine. But I do try to make sure that I'm getting in carbohydrates and protein around my 2 days prior to race day. With that being said, meal timing. I also want to make sure that my sleep is really good. So I'm not eating late in the evenings, especially that Wednesday through Friday. I want to stop eating probably around 5:36 because I'm usually going to bed about 8:30, and I do not sleep as well whenever I have a tummy full of food. So I try to stop eating around 5:36. A lot of my carbs are centered around my actual training sessions. So I usually work out in the morning / early afternoon. That's when I'm going to have a lot of my carbs. I will have some carbohydrates that Friday before I go to bed because I do not like fueling in the morning on race day. That's something that I've talked about that it needs to change. I definitely need to get to a place where I can train my stomach to eat in the morning on race day. It's just running fed is 10 times out of 10. It's like, unless you have GI problems, right? Then it's better okay. It's better for performance 10 times out of 10. Just you want to run fed. But anyways, I have not trained my stomach to do that yet. It's not something I'm going to try on race day, right? We don't want to try new things. So that being said, I will have carbohydrates that Friday evening. I'll make sure that my last meal has more carbohydrates than usual. And I actually, since I will not be training on Friday, the carbohydrates that I'd usually have in the morning around my training session, I will move over toward the evening around that training session. So all of my carbs or all my glycogen is stocked up and ready to go, and I'm ready to absolutely kill it on Saturday. And that's usually how I structure my food for the week is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't care too much. I'm not like making sure I get every single macronutrient and whatnot. I'm just trying to hit 1 gram per pound roughly of protein like I always do every single day. Have some fats with my meals. So, throw in avocado, pour some olive oil on some stuff, have a couple nuts, whatever. And then make sure that my carbs are good enough to where I'm not just completely dragging during my training sessions for the week so that I can get that last little bit of good quality work in. And then that Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday, make sure I'm not eating too late. And I really try to make sure that my carbs are centered around my training sessions the whole week, but especially those couple days prior. And then that Friday where I would normally center my carbs around the training session, I'm moving them a little bit closer to the evening time so that all of my carbs are stocked up. I'm stocked up and ready to go for the next day. As far as hydration goes, I am definitely having an LMNT or an element. I don't know whatever. I'm having one of those. I swear by those things. I freaking love them. I'm having those every single day, at least one a day. Usually on my Tuesday days, I'm having 2. And then on my Thursday day, I might have 2. Just because I'm sweating a lot more than usual. And then that Friday, I will have one around the evening time, like late afternoon, evening. And then I will have one that Saturday morning before I go into my run. I don't have any caffeine before I run, really. Sometimes, or at least no coffee. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of my megawatt pre, but I usually do a half scoop, which is about 70 milligrams of caffeine, and I'll do that with my electrolytes. I'll have that in the morning, so I have a little bit of caffeine. I have a lot of water, very hydrated. I have my electrolytes in, and that usually carries me through my training sessions pretty well for now. Again, I would like to get to a place where I can train my stomach and I have an apple, banana, some toast with honey, whatever beforehand. It's just not something that I'm going to start experimenting with until after the race is done, because I do not want to get to race morning, say, fuck it, I need to be fed for this race, and then eat food and then absolutely just have to stop to go to the potty, just have a major cramp, whatever, during the run, because it is a 5K. I can suck it up for less than 21 minutes because I'm getting sub 21, baby. That is how I structure my training and my nutrition on race week. everybody is a little bit different depending on what time the race is, depending on what the actual sport is, depending on if you're training through a race, if you're still trying to accumulate volume. Is this like the race of the year? Is this not? All of those things are going to factor in how an athlete structures their training and their nutrition on a race week. But the nutrition side of things, it's pretty much just like where we want to have carbs around our training sessions. We want to have enough protein every day that helps our muscles recover and also helps with all of the metabolic processes that our body is undergoing. And then we want to make sure that we're staying hydrated, drinking water, not necessarily over caffeinating, but staying hydrated. Want to make sure that you have sufficient fats for overall hormone production and just healthy living. And if you also like more fats, then you can use those to supplement with carbs if you don't like the super high carbohydrate diet, which some people do not. And then, yeah, just making sure you sleep really well, and before the night before, top up on some carbs so your glycogen stores are ready to go. You're going to use some of them while you're sleeping. So again, most of the time, it's better to have some carbohydrates morning of. At least I'd say an hour prior. Sometimes people need a little bit more, but about an hour prior to their training session. Make sure you are hydrated before your training session, before your race, and then you're good to go. That's kind of the overall method. If we're keeping it very simple, you can get super into the nuances of things. When I took my nutrition for sport class at FSU, it gets really, really in depth and in terms of how you can be supplementing with things, but that's like above my pay grade and also not necessarily something that I care to mess with. I think that sometimes just the stress of trying to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect and your nutrition is perfect and your training is perfect, that the stress that accumulates from worrying about that makes the race worse anyways. So sometimes the best thing to do is just not give a fuck and just show up and send it. And that's what I'm going to do on Saturday. So that's how I structure my training and nutrition on race week. I did get one more question I'm going to answer, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and talk about the other topics that I was going to next week, because it goes over like some of the surprising benefits and drawbacks that I've personally found from racing. And I think it'll be and I'll also give a race recap. So it'll be a good few topics to group together for next week, where I can race recap my 5K, how everything went. Did I send it well? Did I not? Did it send me? And then also go into some of the things that I've really loved and things that I've really not so loved about endurance training as a whole. And so there's that. The last question that I got was related to knee pain, and I want to look up the question so I get it exactly. Okay, exercises for strength. It's not knee pain. I apologize. It is exercise for strengthening around the knee in and of itself. Oftentimes, whenever I'm having people come in with any kind of agitation around the knee or the feeling of discomfort around the knee, it's because we need to do a little bit more work around I'm looking oftentimes at what's going on at the foot or the hip, and then also I'm looking at overall training volume and things like that. So sometimes it's just volume. As volume gets higher and you start putting more miles on your legs, you're in this slight knee flexed position, and it's this extensive plyo that's just occurring over and over and over again across time, and the knee joint it's a lot. It's a lot for the body to handle in general. It's a lot for the body, a lot of force for the body to handle in general. And then you're not getting exposed necessarily to those deep ranges of motion of the knee. The knee tends to it will feel very tight. The hip will get this sensation of feeling very tight, and it causes a lot of discomfort. And so what can often help that is proper strength training. And so adding in things like split squat isometrics, adding in deep knee flexed movements if your knee can handle it. If you have pain, right, you might have to work your way through that through some regressions or some slow progressions into the deep knee flex positions, but very low pistol squat variations, walking lunges, heels elevated, split squats. I'm trying to think of what else. Shrimp squats. All of those things can help with getting yourself into sissy squats. Those are going to move you into deep knee flex positions and train some of that lengthened portion. Rear foot elevated split squats are great for training the lengthened position of especially that back quadriceps. So those are great to do. And then also looking at the hip. Now, when you're in that exercise where you're your feet are on the ground, and we're training a little bit of hip flexion extension as well. You're going to train the hips as well as the foot, because our foot's on the ground. We're obviously looking at foot pressure as we move through, and then as you go through those unilateral exercises where knee flexion is occurring, you're going to have some stimulus at the hip as well and around the glute and hamstring. But anyways, another great thing to look at is training hip extension and also creating some strength around the hamstring so that helps stabilize the knee joint as well. So doing things like single leg RDL variations, great for lateral hip, doing things like, or B stance RDLs, those are also great. Those are a great regression to the single leg RDL. And then, doing a step down variation, doing bilateral stance RDLs, and then also doing things like Copenhagen planks to help strengthen internal rotation and create stability around the pelvis that way. Those are all things that will help create a strong, resilient body that is able to handle the forces that your body places on it during a long run. So those things are great to do to help with strengthening around the knee. Is really just making sure we're keeping things strong around the foot, keeping things strong around the hip and the pelvis. And if we do that, oftentimes our knee's pretty good. And then, strengthen your quads, strengthen your hamstrings, strengthen your calves. Those muscles that are directly around the knee, those are going to be things that we want to make sure that we are hitting as well. So, strength training. The things that help strengthen around the knee are lower body strength exercises. In conclusion, but I gave, hopefully some of those examples are helpful for you guys. So that's really all the questions that I got that I think will be helpful for you guys. And so I wanted to cover those things for you all today. Next week, we'll get into a race recap. Hopefully I'll be able to come on and say, yeah, I got sub 21 and this is what the fuck is up and this is how it went. But either way, I do this shit for fun. I'm really excited to race Palace, and I'm hoping that it goes really well. And I'm just excited to be out there with some of my clients and the running community that I've become a part of and see what I can do and just push my body and see what it's capable of. And then we'll go into some of the great things that I love so much about the endurance training and some of the things that I'm just not enjoying and some things that I'm learning from it as well. So that being said, like, comment, subscribe if you're watching this. If you are listening, leave a review. I'm doing this at the end because I'm nice instead of at the beginning, so that you guys, the people that stick around, the real homies, you guys will do this for me. I'm going to pause, moment of pause. Just go ahead and do it real quick. Okay, thanks. Anyways, and then also if you guys are interested in some strength programs for running, specific for running, I have 3 programs. I have Return to Sport, coming back from injury, or if you're new to running and you want to make sure you don't hurt your body while you do it. And then I've got a Go Further program, one for somebody who's in a building season or an off season of running. And then I also have a Be Unstoppable program for somebody who's in the middle of their running season. Volume is getting real high, speed, intensity getting real tough, and they just want to make sure that the wheels aren't falling off. Then those are all programs that will be great for you guys. They have all of the exercises, they have the sets, the reps, video links for everything. It comes with a modification list so that you can progress and regress any movement that you need. And then also comes with a cueing log where you have me extended cut demonstrating common cues I give to my clients. So you basically have a personal trainer in your pocket in video format. And it comes with a program that you can write everything and log everything on as well. So it really doesn't get better than that. It's all for $50. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. If you do purchase the program and you see some benefit from it, let me know. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Peace and blessings. Bye.